So, Mum, just tell me a little bit about what the object is, where you got it from.
Yes.
And what your memories are.
Well, these are bows and arrows, but they're not the normal sort of bows and arrows you buy in a toy shop. They came from much further away in the northeast of Kinshasa in Central Africa.
Northeast of Congo, Dad.
I think you should be just quiet, Dad.
No, because
no, it's all right there. It's okay to make mistakes.
In the northeast of the Congo. And Alan and I were on a diplomatic tour where we were being flown with other diplomats to the northeast of Congo. And we were going to spend a night in a hotel where we were warned that it was on the edge of the Ituri forest, which is lived in by a race of Pygmies, and that the Pygmies would be outside the hotel in the morning waiting to make an exchange of their goods for what they hoped would be money. But we were warned, please don't give them money because they go and spend it on beer. They have discovered alcohol and it's actually ruining their way of life and how they interact as a community. So, if we wanted to make an exchange with them, we should try and do it with something else. So the next morning, after we'd spent the night in the hotel, there indeed were the Pygmies, standing in a big semicircle outside the hotel. And we went down to talk to them, well, in sign language, because of course we didn't speak Pygmy, and I don't think they spoke either French or English. And the couple that I spoke to were charming little people. They're about the size of a 10-year-old child, a British child. And I exchanged my things with them, and they gave me 2 of these bows, along with the arrows. I'm afraid the arrows are long since lost. But these bows and arrows, when we did use them, were incredibly accurate. They're beautifully made, and they've got a monkey hair at one end because they shoot the monkeys, or they shoot the birds, and they shoot small animals. In the Ituri forest, the trees are very close together, so you need small bows and you hit small animals. They were absolutely thrilled with what I gave them, and now, running through the Ituri forest somewhere, there is at least 1 or possibly 2 Pygmies wearing Marks and Spencer's pyjamas for a 10-year-old. We exchanged Alexander's pyjamas for the bows and arrows, and I like to think it was a very good exchange.
Very nice. And so, yes, Dan.
Can I add something about how Pygmies hunt? How these are the booty
Yes.
Pygmies. They have nets which they run to anything between a kilometre round the forest.
And the trees.
And they stand behind this with spears. And they normally use bows and arrows, but if they're hunting bigger stuff, they use a spear. And the women are sent round to chase all the animals in the district into this huge network. It is a semicircle of nets. And the animals bash themselves against the nets. The Pygmies jump out and spear them, and then
Like
sail them.
pigs. Would they be boar, wild boar, perhaps?
Could be anything, I think. Boar, that sort of thing. Maybe small
Mammals
monkeys,
and things,
mammals, yes. But that's how they do it. It's quite exciting.
And what did you remember? What do you remember as the best parts of being in the Congo or in Kinshasa? Are there any good memories that you have, or is it all pretty awful?
There was a lot of very memorable times. One of them was when John and Alan and I went down to the coast, because we love the sea. It's where the Congo River debouches into the ocean. And I remember seeing the sea down there, which I was looking forward to as being sort of rather like the Cornish coast with huge waves. Well, there were huge waves, but they were dark brown because, of course, the river is bringing all the silt down. It's a vast river. But the worst thing was, John got bitten by a scorpion in bed. Now, we didn't know very much about scorpion bites, so we were in a puzzle. Should we walk him round all night to make quite sure that he doesn't fall asleep and then die? Or should we keep him absolutely still so that the poison didn't actually get into his blood and kill him? So we opted for both, which perhaps wasn't very sensible.
Walked about all night.
Walked about all night. And when we found the scorpion eventually in the morning, it was tiny. It was about the size, about that size. But he survived, I'm glad to say.
Yes, luckily I did.
And he didn't die, so it was lucky. So that was one, not such a good story about Zaire. They're quite difficult to find. They're mainly stories about surviving, like the fact that we were always having to give hospitality to people from our house. And the trouble was that there was never anything in the shops, because President Mobutu or his uncle would actually divert the plane that went to Belgium and brought back supplies, and they diverted because they wanted to go off on trips to Switzerland for nasty weekends or something. I think we'll have to cut that bit.
No, that's all right, don't worry, keep on going.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
So basically the plane never came, and so there was nothing in the shops, so
Nothing
it was
in the
very
shops.
hard whenever people came.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And worse, the brewery, which supplies the beer, which is what actually people wanted to drink more than anything else, because it was, of course, very hot. It's right on the equator, and it was always hot all the time. The brewery only opened occasionally, and when it did, there was the most enormous press of Congolese, Zaireois, hammering on the gates, let us in, we want to buy beer. And I had to go in the official car with the driver and drive through this melee, get the gates to open, and go in order to buy. I was only allowed one crate of beer, and in order to buy it, I had to present an empty crate with empty bottles, which they would then inspect to make sure there was no chips on them at all, and only if there was a full crate of empty bottles with no chips would they allow me to buy another crate of beer. So mainly I managed to do that, and we would bring it back in triumph, and I think, well, at least I've got some beer. But the extraordinary thing was that almost as soon as I got home, people would start visiting in that sort of casual way. They would want to say, we just came to see how you were, you know, it's been hot and things. And I would have to say, can I give you a drink? Oh, that would be lovely. And probably within the morning or the afternoon, whenever I'd gone, the crate would be empty again. And we'd have to wait for another 4 or 5 days before the brewery opened, before I could buy any beer, in order to do the job of entertainment in the residence. So it was it was quite a challenging place, let's say. It wasn't a place one enjoyed so much as actually meeting the challenges, which on the whole I think we managed.
Yes.
What's the one, Dad, about the man who came up and told you your gardener had a terrible accident when you were there on your own? Yes.
When I first arrived there, I was without Janet. I think I went ahead just
Yes,
to
you did.
make my presence felt. Well, on the very first morning when I was there, I looked out the window and saw an agitated man standing at the front gate out in the street. So I went up to him and said, my very best friends, can I help you? He said, oh, terrible, terrible news, he said. Your cook is in hospital. And I said, how do you know this? Well, he's a friend of our cook. I work in the Swedish embassy up the road. And he's had a terrible accident. He was hit by a taxi very badly and is in hospital, needs a blood transfusion at once. And the trouble is I've got no money to pay for it. I only need about 50 or 100 Zaires to help him get his blood transfusion. So I said, oh dear, that's very bad news, but I've no money. Wait a minute, I'll go and see if I can find somebody. So I went next door, which was the British Embassy Club, and found the administration officer, a young 27-year-old bright British chap. And I said, you know, can you lend me a few Zaires because I have no money, and there's a man at the gate with a terrible story. My cook Pierre is in hospital needing a blood transfusion and is dying. He said, "Oh, leave it to me, I'll come and show you what to do." And he came along, opened the gate, took this man by the scruff of the neck, gave him a large kick up the arse, and sent him down the road. And he said, "Don't worry, every time there's a new ambassador here, there's always somebody who comes to try and tell him a long story to get money." That was it.
And what was there was some invasion down in the copper mines in the south.
Kolwezi, there was a massacre.
Yes, you tell that. I've given
Yes.
my copy.
It was a Kolwezi massacre, where I won't tell you all about the massacre. We were very, very busy getting the news back. I sat in the radio room in the embassy, and we had people down in Kolwezi telephoning about all the British people who were there. And and we had people at the airport as people came back. The Katangan rebels had killed 100 white people and about 1,000 black people.
They just machine gunned them.
I think they just shot them all. So for a week, went on for a week, and the death toll was 1,100, of whom a tenth of it was foreigners. And there were 23 British subjects living in Kolwezi, so we thought we'd better find out about them. We lost a lot of them when the Zaire, who had dropped on there by the French paratroops, went into a building. It was the building in the centre of the town where all the foreigners had been put. But it was next to the arsenal of the things, so they just went in and machine gunned all the people in the room. 45 people were just shot, and among them were 5 British. There was quite a lot of people we had there. Well, as they came in off the plane, they would telephone me from the airport. I would then go straight away to the operator, and we'd send the message straight back to London. We've got X, Y, and Z, they're safe, that's okay. And then all that day, as people came in, they were put to sleep in all our various houses round about the place. Well, we were in our own house, and a great group of people arrived whose language we had no idea what they were talking.
We tried them in
French and German, Greek, English, not a word, and they kept on talking this strange lingo. They were tired, dispirited, terribly hungry.
Exhausted, yes.
And they just sat down, and we gave them baths, and we washed them up.
Gave them food and things, and then
Put them to bed in any room that we had. And then, in a strange way, I think it was you found out who they were, Diane.
well, I think the thing was that the telephone rang, and it was our Swedish colleagues saying, "We're looking for a
It was
group
the
of
wife
people."
of the Swedish ambassador. He was
Yes,
away.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yes, that's right. We're looking for a group of foreigners, and we can't find them. And I said, "Well, what nationality?" "They're Finnish." I said, "We've got them.
We've got them. We've got them.
we haven't been able to communicate with them
identify who they
at
are.
all, but we have fed them and given them
Watered
beds and
them,
things."
yes.
So
Washed them.
yes. So she came round, and the relief on their face when somebody came in who was actually able to speak to them was very marked. Anyway, that was the Kolwezi Massacre.
And there were a lot of journalists coming through, or
No, I don't
Not
think.
I don't think so.
No one really
Zaire
cares.
was not a terribly favourite country to talk about very much, or visit and things. But there were lots of other stories we've had. I'm trying to remember.
it's all right. No, maybe that's enough.
Yes,
because
okay,
We're going to
yes.
do lots of little ones, I think. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
Yes,
it's a good
enough.
idea.